We should encourage our kids to get married and have kids. We should teach them that marriage isn't just a contract, but a sacred, and to the extent possible, lifelong union. We should discourage them from behaviors that threaten the stability of their families. But we should also do something else. Create the material circumstances such that having a family isn't only for the privileged. That means better jobs at all levels of the income ladder. That means protecting American industries, even if it leads to higher consumer prices in the short term. That means listening to our young people who are telling us they can't afford to buy a home or start a family, not just criticizing them for a lack of virtue. Roberts is articulating a fundamentally Christian view of culture and economics, recognizing that virtue and material progress go hand in hand. My childhood was not, by any objective measure, easy. Neither was that of Kevin Roberts. Both of us were negatively impacted by family instability, and both of us were saved by the resilience of the thick network of family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, that is often the first and most effective component of our social safety net. Both of us saw how a factory leaving town could destroy the economic stability that provided the foundation for those families. And both of us learned to love the country that gave both of us and our families second chances, despite some bumps along the way. In this book, Kevin is trying to figure out how we preserve as much of what worked in his own life while correcting what didn't. To do that, we need more than a politics that simply removes the bad policies of the past. We need to rebuild. We need an offensive conservatism, not merely one that tries to prevent the left from doing things we don't like. Here's an analogy I sometimes use to articulate what the previous generation of conservatives got right and wrong. Imagine a well-maintained garden in a patch of sunlight. It has some imperfections, of course, and many weeds. The very thing that makes it attractive for the things we try to cultivate makes it attractive for the things we don't. In an effort to eliminate the bad, a well-meaning gardener treats the garden with a chemical solution. This kills many of the weeds, but it also kills many of the good things. Undeterred, the gardener keeps adding the solution. Eventually, the soil is inhospitable. In this analogy, modern liberalism is the gardener. The garden is our country, and the voices discouraging the gardener were conservatives. We were right, of course. In an effort to correct problems, some real, some imagined, we made a lot of mistakes as a country in the 1960s and 1970s. But to bring the garden back to health, it is not enough to undo the mistakes of the past. The garden needs not just to stop adding a terrible solution, though it does need that. It needs to be recultivated. The old conservative movement argued if you just got government out of the way, natural forces would resolve problems. We are no longer in this situation and must take a different approach. As Kevin Roberts writes, it's fine to take a laissez-faire approach when you are in the safety of the sunshine. But when the twilight descends and you hear the wolves, you've got to circle the wagons and load the muskets. We are now all realizing that it's time to circle the wagons and load the muskets. In the fights that lay ahead, these ideas are an essential weapon. J.D. Vance.
Chapter 1. The Conspiracy Against Nature. My spirit kindles to fire and rises in wrath to avenge my dying land. Aeneas, in the Aeneid of Virgil. In 2020, our country went up in flames. Some of those conflagrations were intentional arson, such as the mostly peaceful protests that caused more than $1 billion in damage in some of America's greatest cities. Others were more unintentional, such as the record-setting California wildfires that torched more than 4 million acres of our most beautiful forests. In fact, all those fires were connected. They sprang from a conspiracy against nature, against ordered, civilized society.